Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
You have 4 events today in Florida.
Right.
That is a must-win for you, correct?
Right. I believe Florida's a must-win, and I think we're winning it. I think we're winning it big.
29 electoral votes. You can't go to the White House unless you win in Florida. You would concede that, right?
I think that's probably true. I mean, I'm not...
If you look at the path,
sitting down and figuring other alternate plans, I do believe we're doing well in other states. So we're doing great in Ohio. We're doing great in Iowa. I think we're doing very well in New Hampshire. I think we're doing, honestly, I think we're doing really well all over. People want change.
It appears, Mr. Trump.
It
appears that you can look at some of the early voting results and you can find some good news for you, and you can find some good news for her, depending on where you look. But when you, coming off of your 100-day speech at Gettysburg on Saturday, it seemed the headline that came out of there was that you're going to sue the women, as we were just referring to in a moment.
Well, I know. That's why I'd like to get off that subject, because everybody brings that up. But
yeah,
the fact is that, that was a speech talking about Obamacare, and we have to repeal it and replace it.
Oh, my God, he's delusional. All right, then. All right. He still thinks he's winning. I chose Fox because, the trolls like Fox. It doesn't matter where you go, though. You could look at all the polls. He likes Investors Business Daily. Doesn't he like that one? Doesn't he say that that's the one that he looks at? That's the one that is most reliable. And they have him losing. All right. They have him losing, and he says, I'm winning. And even as he's talking to Fox News, they put up the Florida poll, which shows he's losing to Hillary Clinton 47-43. It's I don't know. He's the Charlie Sheen of presidential candidates. Winning. At least Charlie Sheen was drug-addled. What's Trump's excuse? He says he doesn't do the drugs. I don't understand. I mean, his path to the White House is so narrow that one has to hope and pray that his little hands match his little feet on the little narrow path, because he's got a path to the presidency like I got a path to Miss Teen USA. Okay? All right? There you go. This is not going well for you, Donald. Your path has to go through Florida. Your path has to go through North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. And you have to do it on foot. And you only have 2 weeks. Stop talking about the women. Toddle off. Oh, it's just amazing. And as hellish as this election has been, and it is, watching Trump go down in these last couple of weeks is kind of fun. Kind of digging it. Kind of like it. It's kind of cool. He's been telling everybody. Yesterday he said it too. He's been telling everybody, I think we're winning. Call Charlie Sheen and ask Charlie Sheen how to get laid in Nevada with $10,000 and a porn star. What a businessman. Couldn't get laid in Nevada with $10,000 and a porn star. Yeah, he's a great businessman, trolls. Yeah, he's the guy. I believe we're winning. And thank you for playing Fantasy Jeopardy, Mr. Trump. Thank you so much. And thank you for answering in the form of a delusion. Thank you. Oh, this is really, I almost feel bad for him, but I don't. I just don't. He brought this all on himself. And the violence, by the way, he's still, harping on this O'Keefe, who is such a discredited person. You remember when he was after Acorn and he had those, I don't know what to call them. They're mockumentaries. They're not real. They're just, they're fake tapes that are so manipulated and so distorted and so hyper edited that you don't know who's saying what in context. But he had, this woman who was the sweetest, kindest woman, and she was explaining how she grew up not knowing very many white people and didn't know what to make of white people because she was an African American, and then told the story about how she reached out to a white man and helped him save leave his farm and realize we're all the same. And he edited that so hard that it made her, Shirley Sherrod, it made her look like a racist. And Donald Trump keeps quoting this discredited human being as proof that the violence that started at his rallies weren't started by him. Calling out reporters. There's these documentaries now on CNN called Girls on the Bus. And it's really kind of painful because there's a woman named Sarah Murray who was assigned to cover the Trump campaign. And, she said at the beginning he was receptive to the press. And so she was running up to him. She was asking the question. And then all of a sudden he got on this thing where the media is so dishonest and the media is so rigged. As soon as the polls started not favoring him, they became rigged too. Everything became rigged, right? And then all of a sudden, he started calling Sarah Murray out by name at his rallies to the point where her parents were calling her and saying, don't go to the parking lot by yourself. Make sure you take people with you. And sure as anything, Sarah Murray's car was keyed and she couldn't go out to the parking lot by herself. I mean, this is just, a frightening situation. Here, let's play this, can we? Yeah.
Sure. Wow, look at this crowd.
There was a moment in South Carolina that would come a couple months later where he would call me out in front of a crowd of thousands of people by name.
And then they have some woman, Sarah Murray, whoever the hell that is.
And those people would turn around and jeer at me, and my dad would call me and make me promise him that I wasn't walking to my car alone.
This is Sarah Murphy reporting for CNN. Mr. Trump made a speech tonight. Okay. The election is being rigged by corrupt media.
When Donald Trump talks about the media being the enemy, it has an impact on the people who are there. And there are some people who hear him say that and want to take action.
Can you imagine?
That was clear when we were in Florida recently.
Thank you, everybody.
And there was a member of the crowd who started to follow my producer to the car. And when we got back to our car later, it had been keyed. There is no comparison to what it's like this time. I'm trying to picture Mitt Romney calling out a specific journalist he didn't like in front of a crowd, and that never happened. This is just taken on a whole new level. One of the most depressing things about this campaign is to see people just fail the basic test of humanity and not even treat one another like they're human beings. At this rally in New Orleans, it felt like a tinderbox. It felt like it was going to go up in flames at any moment because it kept getting interrupted over and over again. And these were young people, these were teenagers, and as soon as they would start chanting, the crowd would just close in around them, and you would see adult men just grabbing at these kids, screaming at them, trying to punch them. And that was one of those nights where I went back to my hotel room and I went to the treadmill and I just ran until I was exhausted. And these were Trump supporters who were turning on protesters, but the same thing has happened in a reverse scenario. We were in San Jose, and these people who were anti-Trump were waiting outside the rally, hunting down people wearing Make America Great Again hats one by one. These people weren't even treating each other like human beings anymore.
This is just, it's disgraceful. And it's escalating. It's escalating. It's escalating. And it's just getting worse. And Donald Trump is no leader because Donald Trump doesn't stand there and say anything except they were paid to agitate. Well, I don't see kids being paid to agitate, but I do see people being threatened. And I do see people failing the basic test of humanity. And Donald Trump doesn't stand up on the stage and say, listen, no matter how much you disagree or no matter how much, we're on opposite ends of issues, we must treat each other civilly. No, Donald Trump gets up there every single solitary time and blames America first. That's what Donald Trump's campaign is about. It's not about anything positive. It's not about anything he gave his 100 days like what he would do. And he just rattled off this list of things without any how he's going to do it or how he's going to win over votes from Congress who obviously don't support him. The Republican Party has left him. I don't even know if the Republican Party is a unified party anymore, thanks to him. He polarizes everything and everybody. And I remember how they used to say, oh, Hillary's the great polarizer. Hillary is. Because there were Democrats that were divided on progressive causes versus, the middle of the road crowd. And she's obviously from the middle. And I'm obviously from the left. And, the polarization that went on in our own party, but it never, ever devolved into this. I never saw this. Ever. I never saw, the left wing and the centrist Democrats, the DLCers, that's what it was, the Democratic Leadership Committee. I've never seen them go after each other violently or key each other's cars or burn things or throw rocks or do any of these things. Never. Because if it did happen, our leadership would stand up and say, hey, that's not how we solve problems in this party. Even when the Sanders supporters became aware that the DNC was kind of, they weren't kind of, they were not rooting for Bernie Sanders, and they were supposed to be, in the middle. They were supposed to be non-committal. They were supposed to just support the primary situation. They was just supposed to, stay out of it, basically. And it was obvious that they didn't stay out of it. And people were angry at Debbie Wasserman Schultz. They were angry at the DNC. They were angry at our own party. Nobody started violence. Nobody. Bernie, I was a Bernie supporter. We were disappointed. We worked our hearts out. We were, totally, wanting that kind of change, wanting an FDR type president, wanting somebody who understood, banking, and somebody who understood too big to jail is just not acceptable. Somebody who was into criminal justice reform, somebody who understood equality, somebody who understood, equal pay, somebody who understood college debt was crushing our young generation, and that's why they were forced to live at home. They couldn't get their lives started after college because they were riddled and saddled with debt. That's what we wanted. We wanted somebody who would raise the minimum wage to $15. We wanted somebody who believed in organized labor. We wanted somebody who believed in expanding Social Security and all those things. Now, Hillary's on board for some because Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, who's campaigning with her, both of them are campaigning with her, are intending on being a thorn in Hillary's side. They're going to aggressively push her and their agenda when Hillary gets elected. And that's good because she does better with thorns in her side. She does good with rocks in her shoes. She does good when she's got a bug up her ass. And her feet to the fire. And all those metaphors. She does really good that way. Obviously. She wasn't talking about raising the minimum wage. Now she is. She wasn't talking about free public college. Now she is. This is how we solve our problems. This is just violent. And he's blaming America first. He's blaming anybody and anything he can. He blames women for his poor behavior. He blames the CNN reporters for being alive, for being there and doing their jobs, which is to cover his rallies, right? I mean, $1 trillion worth of free media this guy got, and all he does is bitch about it now that the polls are rigged too. And his Investors Business Daily poll, that's the one he told me he liked. That's the one he said he wanted me to go by. I said, okay, let me go check Investors Business Daily. He's losing in Florida and nationally, Investors Business Daily. Okay? I can't help it, Donald. This is just insanity. And this thing has got to, and I don't know that it will after the election. I'm thinking it won't because, I don't even want to promote this, but everybody who reads, and for those of you who don't, too bad for you. Because I'm not explaining this much past this. Last night, there was some attempt at Trump TV. That's all I'm saying. And for those of you who know, that's good for you. You're my kind of people. And for those who don't know, bite me. I am not promoting that swill. Not a chance. That is pure propaganda. And whatever I saw last night, I got to tell you, it was not good. And the only way it would be good is if he were on the TV 24/7. And that's the world we're living in now. So you don't have to imagine what would it be like. You know what it's like. We see what it's like. I was reading an article from the National Review of all places. The National Review. That is the, William F. Buckley. That is conservative land. That is like neo-conservative land. That is uber-conservative land. You can't get more conservative than there. And there's this article from a man named Mr. French who, no, not Buffy, Jody, Mrs. Beasley. David French is an attorney, and he's a staff writer at the National Review. And he wrote this article about how the Trump supporters have attacked his family, his daughters, his wife, with sexually explicit trolling, with horrendous photos of his own daughter, 7 years old, her face in a gas chamber, her face. Why? Because the alt-right, the neo-Nazis, the white supremacists, the Bannon crowd had seen a posting from Mr. French. He had posted a short item on National Review to the Corner calling out Ann Coulter, she had written a whole book that, depended on Trump's immigration policy by the way, he's not going to enforce it. The wall, we're going to pay for it. The stupid wall, as Elizabeth Warren called it, yes, we're going to get paid for it. Because when he gave his what'll do 100 days, first 100 days, he said he was going to put a bill into Congress and get Congress to appropriate the funds to build the stupid wall. So we're paying for the stupid wall, okay? But it was September 17th, 2015, and Attorney French had posted a short item to the Corner in the National Review saying that Ann Coulter was aping the white nationalist language and rhetoric of the so-called alt-right. He said within minutes, tweets came flooding in, and his youngest daughter happens to be an African-American child that he adopted from Ethiopia. And in the alt-right circles, he writes, that's an unforgivable sin. It's called race cucking or raising the enemy. And I saw images of my daughter's face in gas chambers with a smiling Trump in a Nazi uniform preparing to press a button and kill her. Are these paid Clinton supporters that trolled him? No, I don't think so. These are the Breitbart Bannon people. This is his communications organization. This is Donald Trump's trolling apparatus, okay? And he said, I saw her face photoshopped into images of slaves. She was called a niglet and a dindu. The alt-right unleashed on my wife, Nancy, claiming she had slept with black men while I was deployed to Iraq and that I loved to watch while she had sex with black bucks. People sent her pornographic images of black men having sex with white women with someone photoshopped to look like me watching. When we both publicized some of the racist attacks, I in National Review and Nancy in the Washington Post, things took a far more ominous turn. Late in the evening, while Nancy was fortunately offline attending a veterans charity event in D.C., the darker quarters of the alt-right found her Pathos blog, and several different accounts began posting images and GIFs of extreme violence.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.